I'm Chris.
I'm Sandy.
And this is Parenting Autism.
Here we go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 113 of the Parenting Autism podcast. I'm Chris, and I'm with my lovely wife, Sandy, here. We're your hosts today, and of course, it's been a while since we've been on, but we keep on doing it. We keep on trucking through it, right? Life is busy, and...
Well, you were sick
and I was sick
for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And that's why we didn't get... We were doing good every
That's
other
true.
week, and then you got sick, and it's
I'm
kind of
better.
hard to do a podcast when you've got your head all full of sinus infection and stuff.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I didn't get sick, and Bryce didn't get sick, so it's left our home. And we're healthy for the Thanksgiving holiday.
Yay.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving,
Happy
everyone.
Thanksgiving, everyone, which will be tomorrow.
Yep.
And, we're thankful for this podcast. We're thankful that we're able to share our journey and that so many people give us feedback of how it helps them. So, to be able to see something, so much good to come out of something that was so confusing and I don't want to say bad, but unplanned is the better word, it's nice. And we're thankful that we were able to finish the book, thankful that we're getting sales, and that, again, it's just another way that we can reach families. So, yeah, lots of good stuff.
And if you've already purchased the book, Parenting Autism, The Early Years, we'd appreciate it if you could leave us a review on it. It helps spread the word for the book.
Yeah, and it's available through Amazon, in case you don't know.
Amazon.
Yep.
And right now we have the paperback, and we may look at doing the audiobook at some point.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything else. There's paperback.
Yeah.
I feel a lot going on.
A lot on our plate.
Yes.
Okay.
But anyway, having said all of that, I would say we're going to talk about social interactions today, which I had prefaced in the last podcast episode that we did. But a really big highlight that I want to share is that Bryce was baptized at our church since we did the last podcast. Mm-hmm. And it was a truly wonderful, meaningful experience that he really understood. And it was great.
He said he felt invincible. I asked him how he felt after he got out. He said, I felt invincible.
Right. And so I said, do you know what invincible means? What does that mean? And he said, I felt like I could do anything because I have God with me. And I know, and he said something like but not like Super Mario and something. So he just, he compares a lot of things to what he learns in his games, but he felt very powerful because he just felt like that from the Holy Spirit. So it was wonderful. And you were able to actually be part of the baptism, which was great as well. And that's a really big deal, especially if for those listeners who share the same faith that we do. I know there's big concerns like, will our child ever really have a relationship with God or understand what we believe? And I wrote a chapter about that in the book because that's been a big thing for us as well. You do the best you can. And I know that Bryce, it has taken time, but he understands the best that he's ever going to understand. And he gets it. And it's a beautiful thing. So,
And it meant a lot to me to be able to put him under the water and bring him back up. I just felt like I needed to be part of it, and I asked, and they said yes.
So that was a big highlight around here, which was exciting. And another highlight since we've been on here was Special Olympics Gymnastics for state.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about when he went to the regionals, he ended up getting 5 blue ribbons, even though he had a hard time. But this time, there were no real surprises as far as he knew he wouldn't have music for his floor routine. And so he wasn't upset about that. I think the only possible thing that could have tripped him up was this time he had to tuck his shirt in. And for sensory purposes, he wasn't sure about that. Plus, his shirt was so big and long on him because it was an adult size. But we just loosened it up a little bit, and he did good. And once again, he was the only one in his category. So he got 5 gold medals, one for each activity that he did. And
each routine.
Yeah, each routine and then the overall. But he really did do great. In fact, he did so well on vault. He got a 9.8. And they said that he has to go up to the next level next year. So
yeah, because he basically performed at the next level.
Yeah, he did. So anyway, it was great. It was a great experience. And once again, we can't say how happy we are that Bryce is part of Special Olympics.
Any chance of getting him a smaller shirt? Did you talk to anybody about that?
Well, he has a smaller shirt now for our local one that says St. Lucie County. Mm-hmm. And this one was a surprise. We weren't expecting him to get a new shirt. Mm-hmm. So I have not talked to anybody since that day about it.
All right.
But should he...
Yeah. I mean, he'll grow into it eventually. It just looks like almost like a dress.
I know. Yeah. It's a long one.
And he's tall, so...
He is.
Go ahead.
But anyway. So, social. We've had some stuff going on there.
Social.
So we're trying to find more opportunities for Bryce to have social interactions. And in our situation, Bryce doesn't go to school. So he doesn't get those opportunities around other kids 5 days a week. He goes to church, and now he's, I guess you would call it mainstreamed at church. So he's in a room with, typical kids and participating as any other child does. And he's done really well with that on Sundays. Now that we're at a smaller church, it's been definitely better for him in that regard. So he has that opportunity there. He doesn't really interact and socialize a lot because he doesn't know what to do. And he doesn't have someone there to help him unless I'm in there. And I'm only in there every other week. And I've tried to introduce him to a couple of friends, but I haven't been there consistently enough for anyone to just kind of naturally take to him. And, and they're all young and they're, I don't see anybody actually buddying up too much, actually, when I'm in there for that age range. But he does play before service and after they have a chance to kind of play together. And he does that and he participates in all the events just like the other kids. So I think he does really well at church. He doesn't have winning and losing opportunities much to deal with at church, which is fine. And this is something that I know he works on with us. He works on with his ABA person that, comes with him a couple times a week. We're trying to get him to interact with other kids more and not so much competing to me as much as just being able to have conversations, being able to participate.
Make friends.
And make friends, because that's what he would really like to do. So we did get this flyer that our local gymnasium that is really close to our house, actually, they were going to be doing something on Thursday nights for the month of October, November, and December. So I went
just for special needs kids.
Well, I think it's catering to that, but any kids can come.
Well, yeah, it did say that on the flyer.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but the lady who's coaching us, she works with all different kinds of kids, but she was trying to make something that would be accommodating to those kids that maybe have special needs. And so it's just music and movement, and she'll play music, and they get to play in the gym, and she has different activities that, and the county's been great about providing that stuff for her. Basketball,
hula hoops, jump rope.
Yeah, and they got the dartboard on the wall where you the Velcro dart.
Parachute. They go under the parachute.
Yeah, they got the big parachute. So there's been lots of opportunities there. The thing is, we live in a city. How many people are in our city now?
300,000.
Yeah, 300,000 residents in Port St. Lucie, Florida. And there have been 2 kids, Bryce being one of them, and one other girl who's actually in her early 20s, but she has special needs. Her mom takes her there. And we've put out the flyers, and nobody else has taken their child. Maybe because it's on a Thursday night. I don't know. It's only for 45 minutes. It's from 7:15 until 8 o'clock.
And there's just a small charge for it.
Oh,
and, it bugs me a little bit because and these groups that I'm in locally, they're like, oh, we need something where parents can get together and talk, or we need to get the kids together so they can socialize. And
or where are there activities for our kids?
Yeah, so this is all of that rolled into one, and nobody's participating. So I put it in that group. I said, look, if we don't participate, you know what happens? It's going to go away,
Yep.
and that didn't make a difference. So
nope, nobody else.
I know everybody's busy, but it's priorities, I guess.
But the great news is that Bryce he loves going there, actually.
Yes.
And he does better with smaller groups. So
yep.
He has made friends with Erica. In fact, one night, and Erica's verbal, but, and like I said, I think she's in her early 20s, and she'll play all the different things with him. And then he asked me one night, he said, Mommy, does Erica have autism? I said, yeah, she does. Why did you ask? He goes, I thought so. And I said, well, why did you think that? And he said, because she's awesome, like me. Which I love that. And I said, You're right. You both are really awesome. So, I think it's great. And I didn't say that she did. That was all on his own, which was great. And then this last time we went, his RBT, she took her son, who's 5, and he loved being there. And so it was great, because again, anybody can go. It's just a matter of taking your child there. But he is asking about that. We don't have it tomorrow because it's Thanksgiving, but he'll have another week in November, and then he'll have the month of December. So that's been great. Do I wish maybe there was more social interaction? I suppose, but really not that much. And I feel like he's doing great with Erica, and smaller groups is good for him. And he did great with Elijah. So we're super happy about that. And then I was trying to think if there was anything else other than the ABA clinic, which we'll get to that. But I think those are the main things. So he's got church. Then we got the Thursday nights with him. He has Special Olympics, which I will say he's had some more interactions, like with gymnastics. He made friends with Cheyenne, which was great. And even all the kids, he would ask about them, and, Miranda. So I felt like he had more awareness and more connections with this group, because again, it was a smaller group for the gymnastics, than with bowling, where there were so many people and you were just kind of more dedicated, whoever's on your lane. And maybe even a little more than basketball, although I think this time he's super excited about doing basketball again, and he'll have some of the same friends. And he has another friend named Cheyenne who plays basketball with him. So we have Cheyenne gymnastics and we have Cheyenne basketball.
And we're getting ready to start Special Olympics Equine.
Yep. So, but I don't know how much social will be there, because he'll be
I'm not sure if it'll just be him, or maybe there'll be a couple other kids there at the same time.
I don't know. But when we went to the open house, there were so many families that we knew, and so many of our peers, because we do the Special Java Cafe also with him, which now we do once a month. But it's like Bryce has his little posse, and they're like, Bryce.
We finally found our group.
We did. So that was pretty cool, that we went there and we knew so many families. So I thought that was encouraging and very nice. But those really have been what's been going on. I am going to get to the clinic. I just got to save that for last. But I will say, kind of leading into that, I've been getting reports back from Bryce's speech therapists about how well he's doing with conversations and how they're working with him. So, some people wonder why Bryce goes to all these different therapies, and for him, he goes to what they call speech or language therapy. It's really now for Bryce, not so much about his pronunciations. It's really about they're teaching him comprehension and how to have a conversation, and what would his WH questions, understanding how to use what, where, when, why, because he can still get those very confused sometimes. One example that she gave me is inferences, and she said we're working with that, and he did okay, but he does struggle a little bit. So I said, can you give me an example? She said, okay. So I said to him, okay, you're wearing red, white, and blue, and there's fireworks outside. What month is it? And he said, August? And she's like, no, and so obviously she was shooting for July, which we know that. I don't know how much we've emphasized that you wear red, white, and blue on July 4th. But he does know there's fireworks because we've done those outside or we've watched them outside. But he just doesn't add all that up, And I would say most kids probably would who are 10. But, it's those kind of things that they're just trying to create more, I guess, that could help with conversations, that could help connect him to what other people are thinking. I mean, I'm sure it's all like building blocks that just don't come natural for Bryce. And that's what we've learned. There's so many things that just don't come natural to him. In fact, before we went to Minsky Gym last week, Elijah came with his mommy here. And you were saying, that you were just noticing how easily Elijah can communicate and how much language he has.
Yeah, because I'm not around other kids his age or younger, and Elijah came in, he's 5, and he was just talking up a storm, and I'm like, wow, I was a little taken back by all the language that he had and all the stuff he was talking about. And Bryce, I didn't want to do the comparison game, but how can you not notice? I mean, you have to notice.
Sometimes it's hard. It's right there.
And I wasn't sad about it. It was just more of a wow. It was just a wow. Okay, And they got along so well. I mean, they were writing on the whiteboard together. They were drawing pictures together, and he really got along well with Elijah, and so I was very happy about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And Elijah left him. When we got to the gym, he saw Bryce. He's like, Bryce! He's running across the parking lot. And so that was nice. It is very nice.
A new friend.
Yeah. And, he has friends. It's just, we're trying to help him expand that, just trying to help expand and build on those skills.
Mm-hmm. And conversations
and being able to interact. And it's also, teaching him who are his friends and who's not his friends. And he's having to learn good influences and bad influences, and who do you listen to and who do you not listen to. That's all a big part of it too, which is, challenging, especially for Bryce, who's quite literal about things and doesn't have as much comprehension as most kids his age. So I guess I'll go ahead and hit that, and then I'll save the other funny stuff for the end. So, okay, the ABA, we have not put Bryce in an ABA clinic. In fact, the other company that we had him with, they were wanting him to go to a clinic pretty badly. And we went and we took the tour. And it looked nice, but I felt like the whole purpose of that was supposed to be so he could have social interaction. And when we went, there were just 2 boys that were brothers. And at the time that Bryce could go, at that time, and it was a lot further from our house, it just didn't seem like that was going to work. And I think the layout and everything was like,
the schedule, the layout.
It just wasn't coming together.
It wasn't a good fit.
And so we passed on that. And then we knew that his new ABA company that we're with now, that they were getting a clinic, and they were going to be getting one that was closer to our house in our city. So they finally got it opened, and they wanted to know if we would bring Bryce. So normally on Wednesdays, Miss Brianna comes here to our house for 2 hours, and we'll work with Bryce. So she was asking for the same time slot, but to be at the clinic. And normally when we do ABA, you and I are in the house somewhere and we're present. But when we take them to a clinic, we're not there. They don't want us there. They don't even want your parents coming in very much. I mean, it's like kind of at the door, like, can you come in? I'm just coming in for a minute. So I understand they just, they're working and your child is coming in. And so we've done this 3 weeks now. And the first week, there were 4 kids there. And one of the little boys we actually knew from doing bowling with him and his mom. And so we were very familiar with him. And there was another little boy and there was a little girl. And in this setting, they each have their RBT, which is the person who is the person that works with them weekly, so they're very familiar with them. And then he also had Miss Felissa, who we've mentioned is like the BCBA, and she writes his plan, and this Miss Brianna right now works with him to kind of implement his plan. And so they've both been there all 3 weeks. And when we picked him up the first week,
he was in the quiet room.
No. First week was not quiet room.
No?
So first week, you weren't there. I picked him up, and he was actually happy, hopping, and said, can we come back? Can I come back again? And I said, oh, okay. Yeah, you can. We can do it next Wednesday. So he seemed all happy. But then when it was next week and it was time to go, the night before, he's like, I don't want to go to that place tomorrow. And I'm like, well, why do you want to go? You told me last week that you loved it. And so he said, because of that game. I'm like, well, what game was that? So after, some prying and decoding, I figured out that he was playing Candyland with his friends, and he was near the end. And I guess he drew a card that took him all the way back. It'd be like Chutes and Ladders, and you hit that slide that takes you all the way down when you're like 2 steps from winning. That's kind of where he was from what he told me. So it's the fact that he was so close and then he lost. And then he's like, I don't have luck there, because he thinks everything's luck or skill. And so when I heard that was his reason for not going back, yeah, you're going back because that's part of the reason we're sending you there. I didn't tell him that way, but yeah, you're not going to get out for that. So we talked about it, explained, what it was. I said, you don't have to play Candyland. I think that's what we said. Play a different game this time. You don't have to play Candyland. You just say, I don't want to play that. I'd like to play a different game. Okay. And I know they're trying to teach him to let his, and I'm in air quotes here, friends, maybe I should say peers, let his peers pick a game, and then Bryce has to learn to go along with what they want to play. It shouldn't always be about him. So I get that. But it should be that those peers are learning also for if Bryce wants to pick a game, they should play what he wants to play, right? So it should be like a rotation. So we talked him into it. He didn't really want to go, but we had a date at Mom and Dad's, and Bryce's cousin Storm would be there, who Bryce loves to play with. And so
afterwards.
So we had the carrot. You go through this.
You can play with Storm.
You'll be okay. You can play with Storm. And I'm nearby. If it's not good, they can call me and I can come and get you. Okay. So that's how we left it. And I was pretty close by, like 10 minutes away, hanging out at a store. So it's time to go pick him up. Did you go with me that time?
The second time I met you there.
Yeah. And did you go in with me?
Yes.
Okay. So when we went in the second time to pick him up,
this is
when he was in the quiet room. That's correct. So we got there, and they have like a quiet sensory room, and Bryce was in there, and they told us, they met us at the door and said, oh, it happened right at the end. We were playing a game, and he lost. It was between him and one other person, and it was the game Zingo, and he didn't get the letter. She took the letter he needed, and he lost it.
And Brianna said, has he tried to hurt himself before? And we're like, yes. And she says, okay, because he was talking about it or something.
Right.
And when we looked in on the room, he was, I don't know what he was doing.
I don't know what he was doing, but she said he was like picking at himself. And
pinching himself, maybe. I don't know. Doing something.
Yeah, he obviously was not in a great space. And she said that I don't know how long it had happened, but they had been soothing him for a period of time. And then she said it was really sweet because Mark was trying to, he hung out with him the whole time to make sure that Bryce was feeling better. And the other little boy was asking about him. Like his peers that were there were concerned about him and showed that, which was good that Bryce could see that because that is how they should react. And actually, so we used that. Actually, when we walked out of there, we took a walk.
We did.
The plaza.
We had to take a walk to just even things out, calm things down.
Yes.
He was he was resting on a beanbag when we got there in the quiet room, but we knew that it wasn't over.
Oh, it was not over.
So I'm like, we're going to the car, and he's like, oh, I'm so mad, or whatever he was saying. I'm like, okay, we're going for a walk. We're going to walk down to the end of the plaza. And we talked it out.
It was a good conversation.
It was a good conversation.
Because he was able to, once we got him out of there, he was able to tell us more what happened.
What happened. And we had a long talk about it.
We did.
And then he kept bringing it up pretty much every day until that next week. And the night before, one of us usually goes to bed with Bryce just so he can fall asleep in his bed. And it was me that night. And we had a half an hour conversation about losing games and what to do and how to use your words. And I told him, I said, we're going to call it loser school. And he thought that was the funniest thing. I said, because you have to learn how to lose, right? And be okay with it.
And you told him in order to pass fourth grade.
I said it was part of fourth grade. Yeah. This is a class you're going to on Wednesdays, and it's loser school. And you just have to be able to get through it and to pass fourth grade. And so he thought it was funny. And I think... we made up scenarios about losing and
you did like what should you do and like really sarcastic
that's
things
right.
you should do versus the real thing.
What should you do if you lose? Should you take a cup of water and throw it across the room so it hits the wall? Oh, he was just laughing at that. I said, or B, should you say good game? And right. I've just made all the options, and he just loved it. We had a good time, and we went to sleep on that.
Yeah.
Tuesday night before the Wednesday center.
So then Wednesday, we go to the center.
We had all that settled. He was good.
We did. We had prepped him. We were going to be going to my parents, so he would get to play with Storm, so that was kind of on the backside. We had told him he was still worried about losing, so we had said, you can take a game, one of your games, and we'll play it.
And we forgot the game.
Which we forgot, but I told him, I said, buddy, I don't have time to go back. We forgot your Uno attack, but I'm going to tell Miss Brianna when we get there that you get to choose a game. And you get to choose a game, and you choose whichever one you want to play, okay? I said, because you've done what your friends want to do now, you get to do it.
And we told, the BCBA and Miss Brianna, look, we need a good outcome on one of these visits because if we don't get a good outcome soon, then he's not going to want to return, and we're not going to push him into an environment that he just dislikes so much. Yeah,
and we said, he's not going to get out of this simply because he's losing a game.
Right? Yeah.
That's not it. He has to learn to do that. That's a different story. But we still need to make him feel like he has some choices in here, so let him choose a game. And I guess the one he chose the week before, they didn't have all the pieces, so they didn't get to play the game he chose. Okay, well, this week pick one that he can play, and we should be good. Sorry, my throat's like itchy.
Yeah.
So anyway, 2 hours passed. I didn't get a call. And I said, if I need to come pick him up earlier, let me know. I can come. If I need to come in an hour, I'll come in an hour. No calls. I had gotten a text from Brianna saying that she had to leave 15 minutes early to go get her son from school, but that Miss Felissa would be there. So I waited until the 5 o'clock. Then I got there, and I think you met me there, and we went in, and this time Brianna was still there. So I'm like, oh, she's still here.
And Bryce is on the tile floor.
Was he on the? Yeah, he was on the floor.
He was on the floor,
Bryce
despondent.
Was very despondent, and well, it's true. That's what it was.
Yes.
I walked in. He was on the floor, very despondent, just staring out to space. It's just complete sadness on his face, and there was no anger. He was just laying there.
Nobody home.
And so we're like, what happened? And again, it just happened right at the end, and he was playing with these boys, and the story we got was, there was roughhousing, and somehow Bryce ended up under the beanbag, and somebody stepped on the beanbag with Bryce underneath it, and he got hurt. So this time he physically got hurt.
It sounded like somebody stepped on his headphones.
Well, that's what Bryce said.
And he said his eyes felt like they were going to pop out. So
yeah, it was not good. And he said we got all of this information. Eventually, he said he hurt all over. It was
upset.
10 pain for him.
And it was very upsetting for us.
And it was very upsetting for us. It was upsetting for, Brianna and Felissa too. I know it was. It was not a great situation. I went over there, and he was on the floor, and I got down with him, and I'm like, hey, buddy, I'm here. Okay, we can go now. And he just grabbed my hand and just held it. Wouldn't even look at me. He was just holding my hand, and I'm like, oh, my heart was shattered. It was shattered.
He's trusting us to bring him there and
that's
for them to help him.
That is it. And this is the conversation that I've had with, that we had afterwards with his ABA team was, I can't have this happen again because he's trusting us. And I don't want him to not trust me. That if we tell him this is a good and safe place for you, and then he goes there and it's not a good or a safe place for him. I said it's one thing losing a game. It's another thing if he's getting hurt because nobody's there to look out for him. I said we do keep him in a bubble because we had a similar incident with Cub Scouts. And, that was not great either. And here we're sending him there because this is supposed to be a protective environment where somebody's with him the whole time. And he shouldn't be left alone, even on a break. It shouldn't be where he could be alone to a point that he could get injured. Accidents happen. I get that. But this wasn't an accident. It's not like somebody accidentally bumped into him or they collided while they were running and having fun. Those are different things. This is somebody telling him to go under a beanbag, and then they stepped on it. Was it out of meanness? I don't think it was out of meanness to, hey, let's hurt Bryce. But I do think they had no regard for Bryce's safety, and they did tell him to do it. So here's what we got from Bryce since then. Because with him, first of all, he could only tell us so much, and then he said, I can't talk anymore. It makes me so sad, and he's crying so hard. We're like, you don't have to tell us anything else. We went and got him a Domino's pizza, and, we're like trying to just calm him down. So a few days later, tried to talk to him about it, got a little bit more. And then Sunday after church, he brought it up, and he said, well, I listened to Brianna. She told me, I know I did what Miss Brianna told me to listen to my friends so that I could get points. Because he's got this new point system that she's trying with him. And he said, but I listened to them. Why would they want to hurt me? I listened to them when they told me to go under the bag.
Under the bag.
So then it was like, aha. Yeah.
So she wanted him to listen for conversations and subjects.
Yeah, like pay attention and be engaged and care, basically.
Yes.
Listen like you care.
Not listen to what they're telling you to do.
Whether you're going to get hurt or not. So he did this thinking that was going to help him earn points, and he was doing what would make Miss Brianna happy and us happy, and poor kid. So then you went right into okay, Bryce, there's two types of listen.
Yep. I just said, there's listening to understand what's being said, so that you learn about whatever it is, or there's listening like mommy and daddy. When we ask you to do something listening, then you do it. So I said, when you're in there, if another adult tells you to do something, then you should do it as long as it's safe. But if another kid tells you to do something, you don't have to listen to the other kid.
Right.
You're listening to adults if they instruct you to do something. But the other type of listening that we want you to do is to listen to the conversations about how their day was, what they're interested in, and remember those details, not listen to what they're telling you to do that's hurtful.
And then he went, oh, and they were like, do you understand? He's like, yes, okay. So that's kind of
where we're at.
Yeah. And we had this week off for Thanksgiving, which we were kind of grateful for that. So
I think we're still digesting it.
We are still digesting it. Normally these things leave me after a few days, and this hasn't left me completely. So now Bryce has said, yesterday came up with, so obviously he's still thinking about it, and he said, I don't want to go to that place on Wednesdays anymore. I want to change it to Fridays. Okay, why do you want to go on a Friday? And he said, because I have speech on that day, and maybe it'll help me.
Mm-hmm. Communicate with the other kids.
Which is what he was trying to say, which was very smart on his part, because he's thinking he needs help, with that. And then it would be fresh because he does have that, interaction with Miss Amanda teaching him on Fridays how to do these conversations. And then he could take that afternoon to the clinic. So then I said to him, I said, well, why don't you want to go to the clinic? What are the other reasons? And I said, or tell me what you like about it. I said, do you like going? Do you like playing games? Yes. Do you like the boys who are there? Yes. Do you like the girls who are there? Yes. Do you like the adults who are there? Yes. I said, do you feel safe when you're there? Hesitation. Okay. So tells me he doesn't really feel safe when he's there, but he's still trying to do this. And he's trying to figure out, how can I do this and it be okay? So our conversation has, as we have left it, is he's there for 2 hours. First of all, we'll try 1 hour and let's see how it goes. And 1 hour can be with the group, but when they have a break, Bryce is not to be left alone. Miss Brianna doesn't get a break from Bryce. She can take a break with him, and she is to be with him by his side the entire time, no matter what they're doing, whether they're in air quotes working or in air quotes on a break. So then on the second half, I don't think he needs to be with the whole group. And if this group is going to be growing, it's not a really large space to be growing too much. But, you can't control all the other kids who are there, and the new boys that came this past week were not there the first 2 weeks. They were described as rambunctious. And the other weeks, we did not have rambunctious kids there. We'll just leave it at that. So,
when you just said that, for the first hour, he'll be doing one thing, and then the second hour, another thing. I think when you just said that, my heart says, let's just do 1 hour.
I'm cool with that.
Because it gets less of a chance of problems in that 1 hour. And let's know that he only has to be there an hour, and he can know that, and then he'll be back to us in an hour.
I like that. And this is good, us talking this out, because we really have tried not to talk about it too much, because Bryce is always around us. I think that's a great plan. I also think that we have got to end this on a positive note. So we have a better chance if it's only 1 hour. Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And, we can work up to 2 hours.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Let's just do 1 hour for maybe a month, an hour a week.
And I'll find out if they can do Fridays. And if they can, we'll switch it.
The TV fixed.
What?
What's wrong with it?
With what?
The TV. It's not connecting to the switch.
Oh, do you wanna come in here and talk to our people?
No, I'm just telling you that.
Oh, all right. We'll be out in a minute, and I'll try to fix it for you.
I'll try.
Okay. All right. So he left the door open. So.
Okay. Well, that's kind of where we are.
Yeah, we can wrap at that point.
Well, that part, yes.
Stay tuned for further updates on that. So
that's what's going on in our social attempts here. All right, so let me just share a couple of funny things, because, I like to do that, and then we can wrap it up. And I do have another podcast episode I want to record. Just got to put some space in between them.
Yeah.
But I read this really interesting book, just to kind of give the listeners a sneak preview. It's called Why Do I Jump?
The Reason I Jump.
Oh, The Reason I Jump. Thank you. You can see the title behind me. I got this book. It's very interesting, and it's written by a 13-year-old boy on the autism spectrum who answers a lot of questions. And while I know that every child is different, I do think there's a lot of core similarities. And it helps me understand Bryce a little bit more, or I can kind of ask Bryce the same questions and see how he answers me. But I'm going to share that with the audience and discuss some stuff with you, and I think it'll just be really good discussion points. So anyway, but to wrap up tonight, when we were at Special Olympics, there were some gymnasts that were doing their floor routine from another county, and they were in their really pretty, sparkly outfits, and they were doing gymnastics with a ball on the floor.
Yeah,
and
more like art.
Yeah, I think they call it artistic gymnastics, and we've never seen that before. So we were kind of above looking down, and Bryce is looking at it, and he says, that kitty is doing awesome, right? Because he calls all girls kitties. So he said, so I said, yeah. And then he looked at me afterwards. He goes, I've never seen a beautiful kitty move like that before. He is so funny.
He is coming up with some funny things.
He is funny. His aunt and uncle watched him for us last week so we could go out. And when we came back, they're like, he made us laugh a lot. It's just the way he says things.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know, he is quite funny.
It is funny.
So anyway, that was funny. And then the last little funny that I wrote down that I thought I would share is Miss Amanda, when I picked him up on Friday, and she was telling me about the inferences with the red, white, and blue. And then she goes, and then we're doing like conversations. Like, she goes, I gave him the question, or he's supposed to say to me, I just got $100. She said, so I said to him, oh, how did you get $100? And she said, I was expecting him to say, like, I did some chores or I sold something or something. And he says, oh, I hit 777s on the jackpot. I started laughing so loud. I'm like, well, I guess I know what he's playing on his iPad because we don't gamble.
It could be one of his mini games.
I think he must have
on the Switch.
A slot, some type of slot machine mini
Yeah.
game. Anyway, for him to just come out with he hit 777s, that was hilarious. So
Good stuff.
that's our boy. He's pretty funny. And I think we can wrap it up there. We just wanted to get back on here because, again, it's been a little while. Update all that, and we'll be back again soon.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, and thanks again for tuning in, and
Here
we'll
it
talk
comes.
to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.